The Josh Allen 2026 Files. Everything you need to know about the most important season of his life. Listen up, Bills Mafia. Because what we are about to unpack is not just a football preview. This is a full psychological, statistical, personal, and professional deep dive into the most pivotal chapter in the career of one Joshua Patrick Allen. A new baby. A new head coach. A new supporting cast. A new stadium on the horizon. A brand new why. The man is 30 years old, he is a fresh father, and he is standing at the exact crossroads where football legends are either made forever or quietly allowed to fade into the category of what could have been. The stakes have never been higher for number 17. And honestly, we would not have it any other way. So today we are going to break down the 2026 version of Josh Allen through 3 angles that matter the most. What has us excited? What has us genuinely concerned? And what has us so deeply curious that we cannot stop thinking about it? Because this is not a one-dimensional conversation. Josh Allen in 2026 is a story with texture, with tension, with triumph waiting in the wings, and a few potential landmines buried along the path to greatness. Let us get into all of it. Let us start with the excitement, because frankly, there is plenty of it, and it deserves to be celebrated loudly. The first thing that ignites genuine enthusiasm about Josh Allen's 2026 season is the blend of continuity and fresh voices that now surrounds him on the offensive side of the ball. Joe Brady remains as the play caller, now elevated to head coach. A ton of the starting lineup around Allen remains intact. The offensive identity is familiar, and yet into that equation step 2 new voices who carry enormous weight. Pete Carmichael arrives as the offensive coordinator, and Bo Hardegree steps in as the quarterback's coach. Both men bring legitimate pedigrees. Carmichael is a Sean Payton disciple through and through. A man who has spent 2 decades operating within one of the most sophisticated and productive passing systems in NFL history. Brady himself has publicly claimed Payton as a major influence. These 2 men should not just get along. They should be speaking the exact same offensive language from day one. And here is why that matters so much. New voices in a quarterback room are not a threat to a great quarterback. They are fuel. They bring different eyes. They ask different questions. They challenge assumptions that have calcified over time. The self-scouting conversations that must be happening in that building right now, with a fresh offensive coordinator and a new quarterback's coach, all sitting down together and honestly evaluating everything the offense has done and everything it has failed to do, those conversations are enormously valuable. And the guy they orbit around is Josh Allen, who now gets to absorb those perspectives and incorporate them into what is already one of the most gifted quarterbacking packages the sport has ever seen. The second reason for excitement is enormous, and it has a name. DJ Moore. When Allen returned to Buffalo for the start of OTAs, newly acquired wide receiver DJ Moore was occupying the locker space right next to him, making it easy for the 2 to develop chemistry quickly. Allen noted they were in the same draft class and spent time together at the rookie premiere years ago, calling Moore a team-first guy who is obviously very talented. FLO Bill. And that chemistry is already flowering in ways that go beyond football. Allen pointed out that Moore has kids, and he now has a kid of his own, making conversations between them easy and natural, helping grow a relationship built on trust that can translate to the field. Think about what that means in practical terms. This is not a quarterback and a wide receiver who are strangers trying to learn each other's tendencies in training camp. These are 2 grown men, both fathers, both elite professionals, both with championship hunger, sitting in adjacent lockers and talking about their kids. That kind of organic bond between a quarterback and his number 1 receiver is worth more than any amount of repetition on the practice field. Beyond Moore, the receiving corps as a whole represents the deepest and most talented collection of weapons Josh Allen has had around him in years. Khalil Shakir continues to be one of the most reliable slot receivers in the entire NFL. Dalton Kincaid enters year 4, and the expectation is that he steps fully into the role of a legitimate weapon at tight end. Dawson Knox remains a security blanket. Keon Coleman enters what genuinely feels like a make-or-break third season. Skylar Bell arrives as a rookie with a unique skill set. And Josh Palmer brings another option to the table when healthy. This is not a perfect group, but it is substantially better than what Allen was working with a year ago, and that matters in ways that show up all over the statistical ledger. And let us address the philosophical shift in this offense that may be the single biggest factor in determining what kind of season Allen has. For the last couple of years, the Buffalo Bills have operated as one of the most run-aggressive offenses in the entire NFL. James Cook had a historic season. The offensive line churned out yards on the ground. The run game worked. Nobody is disputing that. But here is the cold, honest truth that the data has been screaming at anyone willing to listen. Josh Allen dropping back to throw the football generates significantly more expected points added per play than handing the ball to James Cook. That is not a criticism of Cook. That is just math. And with Sean Payton's disciples now in charge of this offense, the expectation is a meaningful shift toward more passing volume. Payton spent over 2 decades coaching in the NFL as either a head coach or offensive coordinator and was a top 5 passing team in 11 of those seasons. The fingerprints of that philosophy are coming to Buffalo, and that means more throws, more opportunities, more of what Josh Allen does best, being front and center of everything this offense does. That is a recipe for a massive year. Now let us pivot, because the honest analysis requires us to sit with the things that genuinely concern us, and there are a few that deserve serious attention. The most glaring concern when you zoom in on the Bills' quarterback situation in 2026 is the depth behind Allen. Kyle Allen is the backup. And while there is some familiarity there, some history between Kyle Allen and Joe Brady from their time together in Carolina, the confidence level in Kyle Allen's ability to come in and win games if the unthinkable happens is genuinely low. Last year, the Bills had Mitch Trubisky as the backup, and Trubisky was not perfect, but he was a capable enough bridge option that you did not panic at the thought of him taking a few snaps. Kyle Allen is a different tier. He is a replacement-level backup quarterback in the NFL, which means if Josh Allen goes down for any significant stretch of time, this offense transforms into something unrecognizable. Now, Josh Allen's durability record is exceptional. He has been the most durable quarterback in football over the course of his career, but it is important to acknowledge that he is consistently playing through serious injuries, and that eventually has a cost. He played through a broken foot last season. He had a mysterious facial injury early in the year that had him wearing a visor. He has played through broken hands, through hits that would end other careers, through circumstances that would have normal quarterbacks on the medical table for months. The man is built differently. But nobody is invincible, and the safety net behind him in 2026 is thin. The offensive line is another legitimate area of concern, specifically the left guard position, where the Bills entered 2026 without a proven starter. Alec Anderson is a utility blocker who was an undrafted free agent trying to step into a full-time starting role. Austin Corbett has starting experience in the NFL, but has battled injuries and is on the wrong side of 30. Neither option inspires the kind of confidence you want when you are talking about protecting a quarterback of Allen's value. And the tackles, while talented, did not play at their best level in 2025. Dion Dawkins was not as sharp as he has been at his peak. Spencer Brown was outstanding as a run blocker, but had his issues in pass protection. The Bills are paying those men premium money to keep Josh Allen clean, and they have to deliver. The blitz protection issue from 2025 cannot be glossed over either. Last year, Josh Allen ranked 15th in the NFL in expected points added per dropback against the blitz. 15th. For context, Josh Allen finishing 15th in any meaningful quarterback category is the equivalent of a concert violinist finishing 15th in a recital. It simply should not happen. And what it told the league was that Buffalo's protection schemes were stressed, that teams had found a blueprint to make Allen uncomfortable, and that the lack of downfield weapons was inviting defenses to load up and bring heat without consequences. With DJ Moore now in the building, that calculus changes somewhat. But until the offensive line proves it has cleaned up its blitz pickup and the protection schemes prove they can handle pressure, that concern lingers. And then there is the Joe Brady question. which is perhaps the most intellectually honest concern of all. Nobody on earth knows how good Joe Brady is going to be as a head coach. He was extraordinary as an offensive coordinator. He won a Super Bowl with the Rams as passing game coordinator. He rebuilt Josh Allen's offense and turned it into a top 10 unit. But being a head coach is an entirely different animal. At 36 years old, Brady is now the youngest head coach in the NFL and has been thrown right into one of the most high-pressure jobs in the league. NBC spikes. He is not walking into a rebuilding project with low expectations and time to grow into the role. He is walking into a win-now environment with a 30-year-old franchise quarterback, a fan base that has been waiting decades for a Super Bowl, and expectations that would crush a lesser person. Brady must now oversee the entire football operation, not just the offense. Special teams, defensive schemes, roster management, practice schedules, team culture, player accountability, all of it lands on his desk. That is an enormous leap, and it is perfectly reasonable to acknowledge that leap with a measured level of concern. Now let us get into the part of this conversation that is genuinely the most fascinating, and those are the things about Josh Allen in 2026 that have us burning with curiosity. And the first one is something you might not have expected to lead with in a football breakdown. Josh Allen is a father now. Allen's wife, actress Haley Steinfeld, gave birth to their daughter in April 2026, and the new father was quick to share that while the want to win will never change, the why has changed entirely. He said his goal is to show his family and his daughter how hard you need to work in order to accomplish something so great. NFL. That is not the quote of a man who is distracted by fatherhood. That is the quote of a man who has been fundamentally rewired by it. Allen himself told reporters that he feels this could be the best version of himself, crediting a change in perspective that came with the birth of his daughter. When a competitor of Allen's caliber tells you that parenthood has not softened him, but sharpened him, you listen. There is legitimate evidence across professional sports that elite athletes who become parents for the first time experience a burst of focus and determination that pushes their performance to new heights. The question is not whether Allen cares more now. He clearly does. The question is how that manifests on a football field over 17 regular season games and hopefully deep into the playoffs. The negative plays conversation is where things get deeply analytical and enormously important. When Josh Allen won the MVP award in 2024, one of the central pillars of that campaign was his historic ability to eliminate negative plays. The sacks, the interceptions, and the fumbles that hemorrhage points and kill drives. He achieved a negative play percentage of just 4.2% in 2024, which was the lowest rate by any quarterback since the merger among players with at least 500 plays. It was a jaw-dropping statistical achievement. Then in 2025, that number ballooned to 10%. The sacks exploded from 14 to 40. The interceptions went from 6 to 10. The fumbles went from 5 to 7. Now, some of those sacks can be attributed to offensive line struggles, to the lack of weaponry that forced Allen to hold the ball longer looking for an open target that was not always there, and to the blitz issues we already discussed. But some of it was Allen himself extending plays in traffic when the smarter football decision was to throw it away or get down. He had only 13 throwaways all of last season. In each of the 5 previous seasons, he had more than 30. That number tells you that Allen was squeezing plays that were not there, trying to manufacture magic in situations where the intelligent quarterback just takes his loss and punts it away. Getting that negative play rate back down to something in the range of 6 or 7% rather than 10 would be genuinely transformative for this offense, and the conditions for that improvement exist in 2026. More weapons means Allen gets the ball out faster. More passing volume means he is in a rhythm rather than a boom or bust mindset on every dropback. Better protection schemes with fresh voices designing them means fewer impossible situations. And a quarterback who has now spent an offseason genuinely reflecting on what went wrong, guided by new coaches who watched last season's tape with fresh, unbiased eyes, is a quarterback set up to course correct. That is the version of Allen that scares every defensive coordinator in the league. The curiosity also extends to how Allen distributes the football this year. For the last couple of seasons, this offense has operated with a somewhat diffuse target distribution, spreading the ball around without a clearly defined number one option who commands elite target share. That changes in 2026 with DJ Moore at the top of the depth chart. There is now a genuine top three of Moore, Dalton Kincaid, and Khalil Shakir who should command the majority of Allen's passes, with everyone else filling complementary roles. Having that clarity, knowing in a 3rd and 6 situation where the ball is going, knowing which matchup to attack and which route combination to rely on, that organizational hierarchy in the passing game has historically made good quarterbacks great.